Welcome to the Morelife podcast. I'm your host, Tracy Horowitz, and this podcast series is called Have Your Say. In this series, we would like to invite you to listen to Morelife clients talk about our programs. In these episodes, clients tell us their personal stories through their experiences before, during, and after attending one of our programs. In this episode, we can listen to a discussion between Dr. Edwards, our Chief Operations Officer and highly respected health psychologist, and Laurence about his experiences on our Tier 3 program.
Brilliant. So thank you very much for joining me today, Laurence. So first of all, can you just give me a bit of an overview? What did you get out of Morelife? What was your experience?
So basically, I played rugby for a long time, probably about 24 years, right? Senior stuff. And my knees gave way. And then, of course, as soon as I stopped playing rugby, I put on a lot of weight. So it was a problem. I went to the doctors, said, I'm going to need surgery. They said, you can't because your BMI is too high. So then they signed me up for Morelife, which I went online, I think it was once a week to begin with. And then I had meetings. We talked about diet, about exercise, about everything else that we could think of that would be helpful. And it was a group, so you could share tips and all the information on what to do and what not to do and everything else, which was really helpful because you felt like part of a group. You felt like you got the support. And then after a while, I was losing weight on that, but not rapidly. Then I was offered Saxenda, and I took the course on that.
Just for people listening, so Saxenda is a GLP-1 medication. It was the first one that got licensed for weight management. It was originally a diabetes medication. The newer one is Wegovy, so people might have heard of that. It's also known as Ozempic sometimes. But yep, okay. So you started in the group. You found that group support really helpful because
yes,
I suppose,
definitely.
Yeah.
And the people, I wouldn't call them managers, but the team leaders, if you like, were very helpful. And if you had any issues, you could raise it at the meetings and just general chat about the way forward and struggles people have. You know, a lot of the times it's to do with their life situation as well. You know, maybe just been made redundant, so they eat more or divorced or, you know, all of those issues around their social life, which doesn't help when you're trying to lose weight. So it was really good to support each other. And although we were spread quite a distance apart, some people managed to communicate outside of that meeting and give support, which is always good, you know, because you always feel like you've got a friend, you know, a special friend, if you like, to talk to if you've got problems or struggling with things. So that was good.
Fantastic. No, that sounds really nice. And I think you're right. Your story isn't unusual, and it must be really hard to go from doing such an active sport like rugby, where you would need to eat a lot to sustain that, and then for that to very suddenly change, the appetite doesn't necessarily catch up.
No, I was playing 3 times a week. I went back in my older days. I'd had a company of my own and I sold that off, and then I went back to university. So I was playing for my local team on a Sunday and a Saturday and playing for the university team on a Wednesday. So I was playing a lot of rugby. Really enjoyed it, obviously. But then, of course, as you get older, the injuries take a lot longer to repair. And then the doctor said, you know, you're doing more damage to your body than you are good. So best stop. And then, of course, I stopped everything. And then my knees played up and I put all the weight on. And then that's where we were.
Right, so you did the group and then we found that you were eligible for Saxenda. So
yeah.
Talk me through how that experience was.
I was warned initially that I could feel sick and there'd be a lot of problems with digestion and things like that. I did have a little bit, but not a lot. I was quite surprised because I was expecting it to be, and obviously you ramp up so much to start with, and then a little bit more, then a little bit more, and a little more, and it's everyday injection. My wife's a diabetic, so she uses a pen all the time, so I knew the rigmarole, and I found it not a problem at all. I had a little bit of queasiness sometimes. Obviously, the same with all of these injections. If you eat cream or something really rich or fatty, it does affect your digestion. So obviously you learn then not to do that. And in no time at all, I was on the full dosage, no side effects at all. I did have a little bit of reflux. Well, I do have reflux even still if I eat something like an Indian curry, but then that's not really a fault of anything other than my diet. But yeah, and gradually I've lost weight. I've lost over 5 stone overall. So
Wow.
yeah, I mean, it's done me a lot of good. And I mean, I've got heart disease in my family. My brother died at 42. My dad had heart disease from when he was like 35, angina, died when he was 70. And so it's a worry. But obviously, I put on the weight and everything else. So I haven't got any effects of that. But obviously, losing the weight's obviously helped my health.
There's a lot of new data coming out that these medications are very good at reducing risk factors for heart disease. I suppose that's something very important for you. But going back to the injections, it's something that people hear injection and they feel really nervous about. I suppose for you, if your wife was already using a pen, but for those people who are a bit nervous about injecting themselves, what would you say to them?
I found it not a problem at all. Obviously, it's just like a little teeny gnat bite. No, not even that. A little bit worse than a gnat bite, like a little pinching yourself. That's all.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't feel anything. So it's not bad at all. I would say I'd set to it and had no problem with it at all. I mean, sometimes you get a little bruise if you hit a nerve or a blood vessel, but nothing major. And that's very rare. I did find my legs, if I do it on the top of my legs and my thighs, sometimes there'd be a lump as well, but that soon dispersed. My wife said just massage it a bit and it'll disappear because it's where the stuff hasn't gone into your. I've got quite muscly thighs, obviously from rugby, and I think it takes a little while to disperse. But yeah, other than that, it was no problem at all.
Brilliant. I suppose the newer medications with Wegovy are weekly. So you were with the first generation of them, which is great. You got it nice and early, but I suppose it's even less of a worry if it's only once a week.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Brilliant. So what kind of support did you receive from Morelife around the medication?
Regular meetings, phone calls, chats. Didn't do a FaceTime or anything, but didn't need to really. It was only how's the weight going. They wanted me to get regular updates on my weight loss, which I found quite difficult actually because Boots used to do it, but where I live down in Essex, Leon, there's no facilities to go into a Boots and get weighed and have a little ticket or anything. So I had to make appointments at the doctors because they're difficult to get an appointment for anything. But they were like, why do you want to do this? I said, I need it for a doctor. Well, one of our doctors? No, not one of your doctors, another doctor. So they're like, oh, we'll fit you in week next Tuesday, sort of thing. Oh, crikey. So yeah, it was a bit of a challenge, but the person who was running the course could then contact the doctor and get my weight and see that I was on track. But it wasn't tutorial. It was just advice and how things go in and chats really about my life, what's going on and all that sort of thing. So a lot of support, any questions I had, any worries or anything else. I mean, I've had a couple of little family situations with my brother getting cancer and stuff like that, which puts pressure on you. But which I told them about. And, I think probably sometimes maybe you turn to food for that sort of thing, but not really. I didn't do bad.
Brilliant. No, and it sounds like you had very few side effects, which is great. And we've, at Morelife, we've always got our dietitian on hand, or because you were the first lot of people going through on Saxenda, you would have been prescribed by one of our endocrinologists. So we do have endocrinologists, GPs. I'd say the majority of people are like yourself, having minimal side effects and actually needing minimal input on the journey.
Yes, I'd agree with that. I think it's been seamless, really, and a godsend because obviously it's made me a lot healthier person. I'm able to do more. I mean, I still can't walk far because of my knees, but that's nothing to do with anything other than that. But I feel a lot healthier. My wife keeps moaning because I've got so much energy now. I'm always doing little projects. I've just refurbished my whole of my decking, put new balustrades up and everything else and all of that sort of thing. I still do exercise, but I do it on a encumbrant cycling machine.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I don't put the weight on my knees. It's more about the exercise. Yeah, and I do. I feel a lot healthier in myself. Clothes that I put to one side because they're too small and now fitting me nice and easy. And all my suits that I've got going from smaller to massive, obviously I go to the smaller ones now if I go out and wear a suit.
Fantastic.
Not just have the injection to stop you feeling hungry, but to train your body. You don't need as much as what you're eating. And you can see that in the fact I'm losing weight, but slowly, you know, I'm not wasting away. I'm not starving. I don't feel hungry at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's important. So you've lost 5 stone, but has that been over the course of 2 years?
Yeah, probably 18 months now, I should think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a fair time, but it's best to do that and not like crash diets and then put it all back on again when you start eating again and everything else. I think this is not more, I don't think of it as a diet. I think it's an education for your body, really more, you know, so that you're not telling your brain you don't need as much as that. So a lot smaller portions, a lot healthier food. I mean, I'm always one for fresh vegetables and fruit and veg and salads and fresh meat and all that sort of thing. I don't buy ready-made meals. So, but it's then making the size of the meal smaller because I don't need so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I think our portion sizes can become so distorted from what we see all the time. Okay. So you've lost the weight, you've lost a tremendous amount of weight, but over a decent period of time. And that's absolutely why we insist on keeping on check with your weight. Yeah, just to make sure we're safe. And it doesn't work for everyone. I think that's important to say. This medication, we've had a few people where it just doesn't either agree with them due to side effects or they're just not losing the weight. But that's why it's so important to keep checking in and having that.
Yeah.
That
I mean, I think that must be more a mental issue than the actual medication, because I can't see how you wouldn't want to lose the weight. I mean, it's the same with anything. It's like going on a diet. You've got to want to go on a diet, haven't you, really? But I think the medication helps and stops you having that hunger pangs and trains your body, which is what I think it's done to me.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people say, that it's a tool. We've got people who are emotional eaters or binge eaters, and they say there's still work. It's not a magic injection.
Oh, no, not a silver bullet, no.
No. So they've still got to put the effort in and do the work psychologically, but it helps sort of lower the volume a bit, that on those hunger signals and that side of things.
Yeah, I definitely think that's true. Yeah, I do. Lots of problems, I think, with food is so easily to buy, you know, takeaways, that sort of thing. So, you know, I always used to have fish and chips on a Friday. And now, if I have fish and chips on a Friday, I don't eat it all because I've just not got the hunger for it. So it is definitely worth going through the process.
Brilliant. Brilliant. I mean, it's been really interesting talking to you, and I think you've explained your journey really clearly. Is there anything else that's been particularly important to you or been challenging?
No, I think just got to go through the process, and you know, you come out the other end if you stick with it. A lot healthier. I mean, I'm so much more healthy than I was, and a lot more energy and a lot more like my old self, really. I don't think I've finished. I think I've still got some work to do. More on the fitness now than the diet. I think the diet's good. And, you know, I mean, my problem, I think, is that I love food. I love tasty food. I love going to restaurants. I love eating in restaurants. And I go to France, to a house in France, and food out there is fantastic. But now I try for seafood. You know, I have like mussels and oysters and sesh, which is a small squiddy type thing. And they're all healthy, good, but high in carbohydrates, you know, so I'm not a mussels and chips person. I'm just mussels in creamy white wine or whatever. So, yeah, I think that's part of it. It's just the education of what to eat and look at things. Think I don't really like sweet things anyway. So, if I do go to a restaurant, I'd hardly ever have a sweet or dessert. I don't drink much. I used to drink quite a fair bit playing rugby, obviously, but I drink more wine now and that sort of thing, glasses of wine. But that sort of thing, just moderation in whatever you do and the size of your meals. And exercise helps, obviously.
Fantastic. And if you're going to give one piece of advice to someone, just starting with Morelife, whether or not they were going to go down the medication route, I suppose, what piece of advice would you give them?
Embrace it and try and stick with it. Don't lose faith. Use the support. The people there to support you. So I think, just stick with it. Go with the flow, as they say.
I like that. And I think it's absolutely right. And I think something you said earlier about this not being a diet links to that, because a lot of diets people might have tried in the past are quite rigid, and it's one size fits all. And if it doesn't work, you kind of give up. Whereas I hope that at Morelife, it isn't. As I say, some people, the medication's the best option. Some people, more psychological support. So if one avenue doesn't work, like you said, tell your practitioner, try something new.
No, exactly. Talk to them, tell them, I'm having a struggle with this. And I think some people, it's carbs, they love they're carb heavy on their food. And that's all of the instant foods as well. You look at buying food in that's already ready made. You read the information on the packet. You think, crikey, that's not good for me. I mean, it's time as well. Some people would just can't, particularly if you live by yourself. I should imagine like cooking for yourself just difficult, because you think, oh, can I be bothered to peel potatoes or cut up vegetables and all that sort of thing? So then if you do that, try and do it for 2 or 3 days, stick some in the freezer, and then you can pull that out, and I'm going to do it all the next day or the day after. You've already done it. Fantastic.
Brilliant. Great advice. Well, thank you very much. It's been lovely talking to you, Laurence. And I think people at the start of their journey will find that really useful.
Always glad to help. Want to contact me again, let me know. And hope everyone if anyone does watch this, they get on with it and enjoy it and embrace it. Take it all on board. And you'll come out the other end, which I'm coming out now, and you'll be a lot better, not only in yourself mentally, but physically as well, and live longer, so it's all you can hope, as long as you don't get run over by a bus, obviously.
we can't account for that.
No, not really.
Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode on the Morelife Have Your Say series, where we heard Laurence talk about embracing the challenges and changes and keeping the faith in your health journey. If you found this episode interesting or helpful, please subscribe to our podcast for more client stories, tips, and resources. Don't forget to leave us feedback and share this episode with someone that you think can benefit from it. Visit us online for additional support and resources to find out more about us. Looking forward to seeing you for our next episode.